right, here we go again. Buckle up. So I'll explain what happened. So, like a few days ago, I memories started coming up. I get foreshadowing like this because things have happened to me, right? And they've operated me for so many years. So I was still a deputy marshal. I was sitting in Garmax Courthouse on the first floor, and I was talking to some people, and I said some stuff I never normally would say. Again, I believe I was drugged, and I believe that I was spycraft operated. And I alluded to that state of mind when I said it was used to cause Bob to unprotect himself. Spycraft, sometimes you'll see me say spycraft and or the reason being because spycraft can create an environment in the mind that's similar uh, to being drugged. And again, that's why I'm so hot on it when law enforcement's using it, because people have no protection and they end up committing a crime by the will of the law enforcement officer and by the sleight of hand spycraft. Thank you, Larry. And I understand there were some cases thrown out because of that. That was discovered. Correct. So something's going on in Elon's mind that he doesn't know about. Or he might know about it, he just doesn't know how to control it. Thank you much. And it's and/or drugs. Thank you, Larry. So for me, when the foreshadowing came up and then this happened, it makes sense. Because that's how God does the see with me. There's foreshadowing. Right. But I don't understand the application generally until it comes up. So it's this. You can actually just look online and they can run things past you. And again, remember, if they're doing it to you, they've probably done it to you. And I've identified they've probably done it to Elon for a decade or so, at least. Right. So they're preparing your mind to be manipulated. And even new people could be manipulated at times. So you're looking at things and you don't understand how it could affect you, maybe. Or you do understand how it could affect you and you don't see that it's affecting you. Right. So it's causing, they've done it before. It's a trigger. Yeah, they're triggering him. And they've triggered him before. Right. Well, I said something about a judge that I normally would not say. It was just weird, and it was like, why did I say this? The one guy the one guy that was standing there was the one guy that didn't fit the FBI model. He was an FBI agent, but you would swear he's like the state police or something. Right? He was a shaved head guy with a mustache. It's usually like young kids and like other guys in business suits. He just didn't have, I think he was the early terrorist guy, I think. I think he was one of the first like FBI terrorist experts or specialists or whatever they call it. That was his forte. Right. I don't remember his name. That little mustache, shaved head. He was standing there and somebody else there. I'm like, oh shit, I can't believe I said. I think he probably thought, oh shit, I can't believe he said that. I think he just walked off after I said it. Like we broke. Oops. But yeah, that guy was one of the first terror guys in the FBI. I mean, he was for our region or whatever it was. I guess they had a person that like handled most of those cases, right? And he was it. I don't remember his name. Right. Yeah, I was hooked up to be somebody in government. I mean, I never envisioned it, but my agency and some corrupt people were killing me, and that's what killed it. Right. Thank you, Lars. So I remember, and that's one of the episodes in my life where I said I know what they did to Bob. Right. Oh my God. We agree, sir. So that somebody operated him. His it's mush for now. Well, again, it does ring true with Bob. So Bob gets to be the CIA contractor. Really, not really, but yes. It's just some monster thing that happened. So what they're doing in his mind is creating a larger perception of self than really should exist. Again, losing inhibition. Correct. So Bob lost inhibition, and that's what caused him to, be unprotected. They can do that through spycraft. Generally, I believe they do it through drugging and spycraft. But again, the drugging might be at a different time, and then it rewires your mind, and then it affects you for a period of time. Right. So I don't know, how it works. And again, they may have Elon, because Elon self-medicates, they might have him on something that would help them do that to him. They can manipulate him to take, because he does, like we all have something. Like maybe you go to the bar, maybe they get you to go to the bar 10 times as much as you usually do, or drink 10 times as much. So again, whatever it is, right? Even driving a car, instead of driving 45, you're driving 75. Instead of protecting yourself, you as a famous FBI agent, you fly to Turkey, and you fly to Iran without diplomatic protection. Right. There's no way Bob should have went anywhere like in those nations without diplomatic protection. Correct. So he's been manipulated. I've been speaking about that for a while. And again, me yelling at him, that's valid. I mean, he's got to stop. He's got to slow down. Nah, that's a major no-go. I did something like that before. Right. Nah, he really messed up thinking that program. I'm trying to speak to Ellison in the mind or get a vibe, and I got something. I don't know. It doesn't really matter whether they have the money or not, right? Not really something needs to be said. And you need to control your people. If your people are effing me while I'm trying to do something, I curse people. And that curse will go back on you if you're supporting them. So you have to be careful of that. Right. You'll make sure they stay away from me. Right? Or better yet, help me. Right. So yeah, Uncle Elon went crazy on the ship. That Star Trek episode? Uncle Elon went crazy on the ship. I don't know what it is because I'm not there. I mean, there could have been a point in my life where I could have been there, right, and helped them out. But the operators are the operators, right? Look, I can't see what's going on. I know he's being psychologically manipulated. I've told you that for years, right? But I don't know if they got him to take a certain drug or increase the dosage, or right. Thank you, Lord. Now he needs to be afraid of shooting the Zig Heil. Everybody does, but essentially the way he did it, he was just ed up by it, right? No, he wouldn't normally do that. I mean, he can't do that. There's no way to correct it to shoot the program in the foot before it even gets off the ground, right? He wouldn't normally do that. I don't think Elon 5 years ago would have did that. And again, there is a psychological program that when you get somewhere, again, Satan's part of it, but when you get somewhere, it gives you false confidence. Again, a strong delusion, so that you would believe a lie. Well, I don't know. You have to have a come to Jesus meeting. He needs to sit down and just. I think he needs to sit down and just get out of the picture for a little while. And I don't know if this is the time to do it because he just said that. Maybe another week. Right. He just needs to sit down and focus on some other projects. Well, again, I don't know what his lifestyle is and what's going on. He may not be sleeping at night. I don't know. And they can do that to you. I told you before, they can adulterate your serotonin. So He's self-medicated. I believe he was psychologically operated and he's self-medicated. And if that's how he gets by, that's how he gets by. But at this point, there's something wrong. He's lost too much inhibition. But that's a psyop also in itself. And of course, narcotics do that at times. Drinking, narcotics. So I got Bob. Well, because Bob's generally a safety conscious person. He's in the United States. He's well protected. Right? How do you get him? You get him to believe he has more protection than he does. Oh my God. Again, I'm being hit by whoever the operators are right now, trying to bring up the fact that my life was ruined for such a long period of time. I mean, they deserve to be destroyed. You need to destroy them. I don't know who they are, but you need to destroy them. No, it's not my mind. I know you're here. And for all I know, they work for Elon. I don't know whether they do or don't. Right. Or work for somebody around them. Thank you, Larry. Now, you have to do something. You have to adjust energies and all that. So you got to change. You got to change the paradigm. And it could be a byproduct of all that alpha male shit, right? Just going to everybody's head. Nah, he did it. He's obviously not well. He did the salute, right? You don't say things, about a new AI program, and the question then becomes: is it because he's not in the middle of it? See, again, we all can have that feeling, but there's ways to handle it. Right, I try to say, don't get obsessed with the budget and all of that. You handle it as it comes. You get to the points that you can get to as you can get to them. Right? You don't want to obsess over your benchmarks. Right? Well, because there's a lot to be done, and you can't do a lot of it if you want to take $2 trillion out of budget. And Trump wants to do something that costs, $500 million. You may not be able to do it. Right. So right now, I might have changed the photo here. We'll change away from Uncle Elon. So what we want to do is what I'm seeing on the border is at a certain point we're going to have a surge. And that surge may not be for another month or two. When it gets warm, usually when it hits, which will give us enough time to prepare. So we need to find out. See, this is the part. Like, we have to wait for them to apply for their restraining order. And they may strategize it in the middle of a surge. Or might not. I mean, if they're being nice to the immigrants and to everybody, they would do it now. Right. I'm not sure if they filed anything yet or no. A temporary restraining order, or there's a couple other wordings and orders they could use. Well, again, if you remember the first administration, what they'll use is that people will be damaged. If in fact it's an unlawful activity, people will be damaged because you can't give back what's going to be taken. Right. And that's what they used last time, and it worked. Well, there's a question whether we can. I mean, yeah, there's communicable diseases all throughout, Central and South America. I mean, you don't have to get the COVID, you get the tuberculosis and everything else. But I don't know if the judge is going to allow that. Well, because what you're saying is they don't even get 5 minutes in court. I think that the deal, the happy medium deal. Again, I might be wrong, but I think the happy medium deal is probably, and generally that usually happens with my stuff, right? I suggested years ago that we give them one hearing on the border. We put court facilities on the border. And again, this may be something that needs to be put into law or something like that. This might be what we need to do, right? Or you pass a law or something. But what you do is you give them at least one court proceeding on the border when they come across. And then the judge can order them expelled, and if the judge finds it warranted, can order a later proceeding. But I don't think that proceeding needs to be here. I think it could be in the country that they entered from. For instance, if they enter from Mexico, you can give them a choice. Either in Mexico or your nation of origin. Right? Either the nation they enter from or the nation of origin. It's our choice. Right? And then our embassies will have some location where they hold the hearings. You got to make sure it's safe. Thank you, Larry. Well, again, there are certain circumstances where they cannot return to their home country. So that's going to require you to deal with Mrs. President of Mexico. That's why I tell you, be careful of your friction. Well, I think you might be required to ensure have somebody ensure their safety in Mexico. Apparently, Dershowitz doesn't even think that the birthright citizenship, he doesn't think that's going to work. So again, it's just a matter of temporary restraining orders, because that holds it up for like 6 months, which would put us into the surge season. Right. But I don't know. Maybe they'll accept it. I don't know. There are diseases everywhere. I think that's the problem. It worked for COVID, but it may not work for anything else. Right. Yeah, COVID exists, but we have inoculations and everything else. And again, they may buy into it, but I don't think so. I think because what you're trying to do is, again, when you look at everything that's happened, and there's a system of checks and balances and all that. So at a certain point, you get to the point that what are you trying to do? Just go around everything that's required. So I think there's one hearing required in the United States. I really didn't have trouble with the one app. As far as the concept, I don't know how they managed it. Apparently, they are alleging abuses. Right. Well, because if you can schedule somebody coming across and have a hearing, it might mean you just turn them right back around, But you're scheduling hearings, you know what I mean? It's not just this haphazard process. So you might want to modify the one app. If they're required to have a hearing, you might want to modify the one app. It doesn't mean you have to let them go into the community. Thank you, Larry. You're welcome, whoever you are. No, Uncle Elon went crazy on the ship. He needs a stress break. Maybe he needs an elation break. He's just too happy. He's too giddy. All right. And like I said yesterday, he just needs to be checked. As I said, he just needs to be checked out. We gotta make sure he's not hiding some sort of, plan to restore Auschwitz in his mind. Right. Oh, they were killing me while I was trying to do something earlier. Well, I got through it. If I had this state of mind, I could have bought that vehicle and all that. You know, ordered one of those vehicles in that I was looking at online before COVID. It would have been completely different. They just brainwashed me too much. Right? Couldn't get past it. But yeah, Elon might be brainwashed. I warned about that before. He just needs a break of some sorts. I can't tell you what to do. And again, it might be a medication that he self-medicates, so it could be something that he's using, combined maybe with something coming in through his feeds. Nah, you know you are. Your VPNs don't work. I know spies. There's no way that they can't get into everything. They just play it a certain way. I mean, there's enough encrypted communication that he can't get into everything, but they get into a lot. They identify a lot. Like I said, they can always identify traffic generally. Things going into servers and out of servers, and communicating at certain times. Right. Yeah, I was supposed to be in the CIA. Too bad I was awake as a kid, because it probably would have still been an honest agency, if I was running it. Obviously, my brother was a CFO, major CFO, so obviously I could have been something. Right? Actually, I am, but it doesn't pay well. Right? Should. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, I did that yesterday because I felt like something. I could feel something coming in. It's like, well, we're going to do something different or something like that. I could feel that, but I still had to go through with it because I could see the surge and all that. Thank you, Larry. No, I wasn't falling for that fake video. It was way before that. They put a fake, like a 2023 video out there and said it was like yesterday, and 1,000 immigrants are streaming towards the border. The court is generally because what we're getting into is, I brought this up before. We're many years past the beginning of altering the process with executive orders and all these things, and they're very colorful. And we've got all these pardons from the Democrats and from the Republicans, and it's getting to the point where it can be an attempt to alter checks and balances, the whole thing. So I think the court is going to say it's kind of like telemedicine only works so much. At a certain point, there has to be some sort of court proceeding. Right. I think that's where they're going to be. Now, I don't know I think the law can be changed. I think we can change some things, but I don't know what we can change. Well, because you actually own that. You got the House and the Senate, so you can change something. Right. But it's got to be the right kind of. And again, you did block Biden stuff. So I don't know if they're going to mess with your stuff. All I know is we do need to reduce the numbers. But I do believe you're going to be required somewhere along the way, and I could be wrong, that you're going to be required to house these people for a short period of time, at least. And again, that was the other part of it. The Trump people said, no, we're not going to let anybody go. Well, what you're doing right now is you're just turning them around, and maybe that'll work. But I believe at a certain point, they're going to say, but you have to restore the process at some point. So one of the worst case scenarios would be that they let you do that for a season, and then when the surge hits in like a month, then they petition the court. And you have to fight it from that point on. I guess it warms up down there. What is it now? Oh no, it'll be a little more than a month. A month and a half, I guess. Right. Like we're actually in a lull right now. So right, this is the lull season because it's colder and right, and then it's not as hot. So that season where it's not real hot and it's not real cold, that's when they generally start surging. I guess about March. So this is actually a time period, a good time period to figure things out. Well, they're already there. Again, they describe the people with the one app and all that. They sit around with it's like a video game, I guess. I mean, it's horrible that the world's like that. Again, you don't have to hate the whole situation, right? It's just a shame that the world's like that. You sit there on their one app like it's a video game every day trying to get an appointment, right? Agreed. Like video gambling. Lucky 7. Immigration appointment. Look, I've lived in a third world life. I'm lucky I had my retirement, or it would have been much worse. Right? That's what they caused my life to be. I mean, it's just horrible. I mean, spending all that money, hiring all those people. Like Jussie Smollett's a nobody compared to what they did to my life. Right? I mean, that's why people like Jussie Smollett get off the hook, because this other system actually exists. So once the judges realize that Jussie Smollett's just a small fry in a bigger issue, then they really don't care. They don't want to let that guy go. He's not really doing. He's not as bad. The people that do this to me actually point at me and say that's the guy that beat me up or something like that. I mean, I'm not saying that they said that, but they say I'm the one that committed the crime. Right. So again, Jussie Smollett just said somebody did. Right. Right. This is way different and a much smaller crime. So we need to, you need to talk to Elon Protection Detail and find out what's going on. I don't know what kind of relationship you all have. Well, at a certain point, they might question the question. Again, I did it yesterday. I said it. I guess enough said on that. Right. And earlier this morning. Well, I want to make him afraid to say it. He shouldn't be saying it. He shouldn't be doing that stuff, or not saying it, doing that stuff. Right? Well, if that's what it requires, I mean, again, I think he's too big for his britches. Nation states are starting to focus on him, and that could be what happened. I don't know where he was yesterday. He could have drugged him at a breakfast somewhere. Right. And then he's got the mother of his children. She's concerned. She doesn't even know what to say. So again, Elon needs an elation break. I don't know if he has stress in his life. Is it possible for him to have stress? It must be too much elation, too much pleasure. He needs a break from all the pleasure, which is funny because if you're a spycraft person, which I sense somebody might be, that actually is a thing that the spies do. They can manipulate your well life, but it's too well, and use it to cause things like this. Right? I can't tell you what to do because I'm not there. I could tell you what to do, but I can't. You just need to sit down and just come up with a plan. And again, you don't want to look at because they're like Shifty Schiff. He's sitting back just waiting for you to slap Elon, and then he's going to speak about it. So again, that's why I told you reduce the friction, go low key, right? Because now you're in the office and they're wanting to do the same thing that you did to them, and it might be very successful. Well, when we look at how the money was spent, okay, during the Trump administration, we spent money overseas, which I think Trump doesn't really want to do as much anymore, right? Because he's trying to, get the budget down and all that, which is understandable. But we didn't spend as much money on immigrants in the United States. We spent money on the nations of our origin. So the funny part was he was talking shit about, because they just want to talk shit about Harris, right? Talking about the root causes of immigration. That's actually a Trump policy. It started with Trump. Jared and Ivanka were working on that. I don't know if you remember that. We were putting some programs into Mexico. I don't know. El Salvador. We may have helped him. I don't know. I can't remember how it all worked. Thank you, Larry. And nobody ever paid me. Send billions over to wage war. I mean, it's disgusting. No, I would pay. That retirement for all the shit they did to it. And then helping you cost me money. Because people are fucking me. I put it bluntly. Right. And they physically operated. Just be in prison. No, my mind goes, when I do the planning, it goes forward to that type of thing. Okay, once we reduce funding over here, we can send more money to the nations. That's why I told Trump, don't destroy the all the factories being built in Mexico, because that's how we reduced immigration in the United States. Well, I mean, if there's something in our nation, it's very hard for us to beat narcotics distribution. And then, like Elon makes some stuff down in Mexico, or was. So he saves some money that way, so he can produce something here in the United States that's more cost effective. Because in Mexico, he gets some of his parts made. I think that's what he did, or is what he's doing. So again, I don't believe in what Bannon said. But he has a right to say it, because there is something wrong along those lines. But a combination of foreign parts and U.S. parts, and a combination of, because when we sell it here, we want the price to be below a certain amount. The only way to get that is to have parts made in like Central America, South America. I mean the burrito, hang on. So labor-wise, it's the same thing. And Trump knows that. Trump knows what he did with his business. He had some union guys. He had some non-union immigrants. Right. Well, don't get into the point that you cut your nose off to spite your face. Biden and them people are good for that. That's what kills them. Right. So, and that's a biblical thing where you need the other person. Right. But what's going on here in the United States is out of control. Right, because sit down. You have to have a meeting on it. Don't make it so it can leak. Make sure it can't leak. Right. Well, I don't know if you want to include Elon right away. You just need to, because I'm not around him. I don't know what's going on. Right. You do. You need to bring some people in that have been around him. Thank you, Larry. And don't bring people in that are going to say something bad on purpose. Don't bring people in that are going to cover it up on purpose. Again, there's millionaires and billionaires that are Jewish, and they're in the Trump's team. They're concerned. Right.
Thank you, Larry.
And right. Somebody that we all kind of know, but I won't name him. He says he's concerned for Elon. He doesn't think he's well either. Well, again, he's in a position where it's difficult to do anything without the media and everyone else clapping back and saying something. The way they feel is put yourself out there, right? Or good for the goose, good for the gander. Right. I don't know what's wrong with Elon, so I can't tell you what the answer is. The wrong thing was to do. It's definitely wrong, because when you do the Nazi salute, people will destroy you. Right. I mean, it may already be Mossad. I don't know. They may have already made their decision. Thank you, Larry. Like I said, ADL may have known what to say just to step out of the foot picture because something's about to go wrong. I mean, Europe has already signaled that they see him a threat to the nation state and will move the nation state against him. That's what that meant. Which means if they made that statement, maybe they weren't doing that yet. I mean, it could be deceptive, but well, because as an individual, it's a lot for for them to use their combat gear. It's like I tried to tell you, spycraft is lethal. It's a spy combat. It's a wartime method, actually. Oh. So they're going to use their combat spy technology to move Elon out of the way. And that's what that might be. I don't know. Thank you, Larry. I've had it done to me. You need to figure out who's here around me and who they work for. Thank you, Larry. I mean, these people ruin my life. It's horrible. No, I didn't have any life that whole time. It's always fighting the spies as they were manipulating something, whatever the next thing was. It's like every day. And then they're all online messing around. I mean, some look like FBI agents, DHS agents. That doesn't make them not a spy. It doesn't make them not working for a side job. That's what I think it is. I think they all have their own little networks of side jobs. I'm going to get the job for social media, whoever the side job bosses were, or whatever the side job bosses control. Well, I think Larry Ellison said, I just received some spot, but we don't know, I don't know. We're not with him, something like that. No, that's it's just crazy to shoot it in the foot before it gets off the ground, or poo it at least. Well, it shows an inability to control. Well, again, the Democrats want you to get rid of Elon, and there's probably been a couple reasons. So if you do it, they're going to gloat. I might try to get rid of someone else. Get rid of Vivek's going. So, right. So Vivek might actually have had something done to him. And it could include drugging. It doesn't have to be self-drugging. It could be surreptitious drugging. I told you, surreptitious drugging doesn't always create a drug feeling. There are things they use to simply lower your inhibitions and get you to say and do things that are risky. They could have done that to Bob. But there's also a psychological operation that can wire the brain in that matter. Then, of course, they do both.
We're definitely doing something to Trump. They probably know if they flash certain things past him in his news feed, if he has a news feed. Again, I don't know if he has that. That it'll manipulate him in a certain way. I don't know how technically, or what technical things he does or doesn't do. I mean, he might have people showing stuff, which they could also manipulate the person that shows it to. Well, that's how they get them to fly off the handle. There's somebody manipulating him. At least I believe it. It could be metaphysical. I just keep bringing it up in his head. Again, it could be also ultrasonic voices where it comes up in his head. You have to me with whatever they're using. I can't tell you whether it's metaphysical only or metaphysical and ultrasonic voices. But it's not a voice; it's more of a thought. That's how they do that. They hit him in the head with it all the time, and then he, about 2 a.m., he's had enough, and he blurts something out. That's how they do it. And it could be metaphysics. Well, because I got the blip this morning. I go, well, I come in at 6 a.m. and I see this. Or I look online at 6 a.m. and I see this. Well, right. So I guess you call it talking points. You need to develop your talking points around, what's important, what's not. It was just very important just to honor. What you do is you honor her point of view. But but we believe that there are major issues within that process, and we're looking to make it safer for everybody involved. Well, because a lot of people that are priests and bishops, and again, it isn't only liberals. There are conservatives that have opinions outside of what the Trump team has, right? Or even your religious people that are with you. So essentially, she's not a cop. She's never been in immigration. She doesn't know. She doesn't really look at and understand that because we have this large number of immigrants, that's why we're having all this. There are women stuck in prostitution because we can't manage it. Committing suicide. We can't. Her answer would be give them more money and give them more food. But again, we've already given so much, and a lot of it's probably being squandered in fraud, waste, and abuse. 100%. So again, these are the things that can be said that we appreciate her point of view, but she doesn't understand it from a law enforcement and a quality of life perspective, and how these numbers are causing an issue for the immigrant and the Americans. Well, because you flee something and then you end up honoring it in a new country just because you're in a new country versus the old country. I mean, there's bondage here. I mean, everything they got, generally everything they got in South and Central America, they've got somewhere here in the United States. But they're here, so they're happy, right? It's better to be abused here than it is to be free in your own country. Well, a lot of these people, they're not really in bondage because they live in remote areas, or some have remote areas, but they don't have jobs and things like that. Because actually, in some of these neighborhoods they're living in the United States, it's more oppressive. Because I told you, the gangs and the cartels and the coyotes, they're running these communities. I'll tell you, here in Overland Park, I bet you Mexican undocumented immigrants and even some documented immigrants that are like coyotes and stuff like that, they have more clout in this community than me. They actually probably, some of them paid to have me done. Maybe even to a cop. I've told you that for years. Boy, they really didn't get warm today. So this is something Satan does. I expected it. Hashem sent me a couple blimps. So it really didn't get warm today. It's not going to be warm tomorrow. God's prepared for it. They fell for it. Oh, he's going to be so fixated on it being warm. And it's not going to be warm. I didn't get above freezing. We're supposed to get up like around 38 or something like that, but it didn't. I think the next day, like one day it said 38, then 36, then 44. Now it's like, or 34. Now it's like 32. And the sun's not out. But it looks like it. Hopefully it's true. It looks like we're going to get high 30s and a bunch of 40s for like a week and a couple days. All right. That would be nice. And then I think we had a couple of 50s in there. We'll see if it gets there. Now he should have felt an inhibition, and he shouldn't have did the Nazi salute, especially the way he did it. So that's the risk. I think that's probably what's happened. They're going to make him feel inhibition. They're going to freak him out so bad he'll never do it again. Right. Or even go down those, even look it up online or anything like that. I mean, that's what maybe that's what Mossad or somebody like that would try. And again, Europe's interested too in squelching that behavior. Okay, you can call it free speech all you like, but Nazism was never about free speech. Right. Again, he's not an everyday person. He's got a lot of wherewithal to move money and personnel to effectuate Nazism and oppression of Jews. So that you have to understand that part of it. So again, like I told you, nation states have already articulated that he's a target of their essentially spy agencies and their government machine. At least they're being honest. Maybe you didn't understand what they said. Maybe it just you thought, Well, they put them on notice that the full capability of their government's going to be used to stop him. Thank you, Larry. So it's a very, very important time period that we do reduce the friction. And there's times when we don't have to say anything. I mean, it was odd. I do agree. I mean, it's kind of, pretty much, what do they call that? Crass. It was kind of crass. Well, you've been in crass things before, It's like you're at the country club, instead of the church, right? I'll tell you, the first judicial conference ever. I think it was the first judicial conference I ever secured. It was in New Orleans. And they were all political. I was like amazed how political they were, openly political, like the two sides. They take their spoon and ding their glass. And then one guy passed on. The black performer was there. I don't remember the name. It was a pretty good deal. But I was just surprised that the judges were so openly political. Thank you, friend. But yeah, it was something that was different. But again, something they feel still strong about. She herself might be gay. I don't know. But, she kind of looks it. But well, just not a reason to really flare up at it. Just just think of a talking point and be ready with that talking point. Well, because there is your truth. You did have a defensible truth. I don't always tell you have a defensible truth in these things, but in that particular event, you had a defensible truth, and that should have been articulated, especially when you had time to decompress and put something online. I mean, you just simply say, we regret, that she feels that way because we don't want people to be afraid, and we understand people might be afraid, but we understand that in both those issues, there are things going on that we believe have made the nation unsafe and have made it unsafe for children. So we're attempting to and made it again bring the fact that it's made it unsafe for immigrants, and we're attempting to restore order by reducing numbers. Right? We want to investigate what's happening to the children because we don't believe the complete stories out there. We believe that something is going on that might be manipulating the children into things they really shouldn't be manipulated into. Again, you tell a 10-year-old boy that he's a girl, he might be a girl before you know it. Right. Yeah, especially if you're an authority figure, an adult, a teacher, a parent. The only thing they're sorry about is that I woke up. They don't really care if they did it. They made all that money, laughed, went to the bars, clubs, had sex over it. Right. I have sex over it. It's like the feeling of sexual power for them. It's psychosexual. I don't care if they're an FBI agent. That's it. An FBI agent has all this psychology. It really applies to them, not the average person. Right. So again, develop a list of talking points, and it should be easily accessed. That's what I was getting at. And in that particular case, you have a defensible talking point. It's a logical, defensible. And again, you don't have to say we know for sure. Again, they're doing the we know for sure. You don't have to do we know for sure because nobody knows. There has not been sufficient research into gender dysphoria and all that to come up with the actual reality of it. Again, some doctors will say, once you breach that with a child, that the child then becomes tainted in that direction. Right? But depending on the age of the child, I guess it's more or less. Right. No, I believe there's, and I'll be back in a second here. I'm gonna take a break for just a second. I'll stay online, but I'll have a break. So I believe the children are being manipulated, and what happens is the earlier you manipulate them, the less likely they're going to detransition. So at a certain point of studying the issue, I believe the detransition figures carried more weight than they do, because the trans activists could point to that and say, look, but they're not detransitioning when they're 18, which means we're correct. And then I thought about it. Well, there's a lot, imprinting when kids are when kids are kids. They're a lot, they carry that for their lifetime. I brought up the fact that I was connected into some things, and what was coming up is that some boys that had been raped as children were gay adults, and they were trying to come to grips with it because they associate it with that bad thing that happened to them. So what that would show you is that that's probably where it came from, even though it came from a bad experience. So it could have been the will of whatever caused it to begin with, including the person that did it. So again, no, I'm not speaking about myself. Go away. You want me gay? I was a married man, right? I was a or a somewhat happily married man with kids, right? They always try to put it out there that I'm talking about myself. They're just weirdos. So again, not transitioning is not. Again, there's foreshadowing stuff. Hashem brings things to mind. Right? So the fact is that just by moving that into their life could cause them not to transition. Not the fact that they are actually naturally it. Again, do you study their? If you're not studying their hormone panel before you even breach the subject, then you're not doing anything right. I'm convinced of that. Well, because it just might be hormone issues. If you have the wrong hormones, you're going to feel like a girl. Doesn't mean you are a girl. You just need. It could be temporary, or you could need to adjust the hormones. Thank you, Larry. Again, some of the food, soy, that could cause it. A mother could have been using a lot of soy at birth. So again, I think the best way to approach it is to say we need to do more research. Again, a lot of times I can't get you to do that because you're afraid of the results. That it's not going to totally be on it, or not totally be honest. It's either trying to get it in the middle. It's not going to totally agree with what you're saying. Right? But the answer might be somewhere in the middle. I know for a fact that transgenderism could disappear. But we have to figure out everything about it, including the metaphysics, and heal it. Which means it's not something bad. It simply means you don't feel like being a woman when you're a man, and you don't feel like being a man when you're a woman. It's that simple. Like now their minds go, oh my God, how could Gary say that and do that? Because in their mind, that's where it is. Thank you. Like I told you, they're not lying. They're not making it up. They actually feel that way. They're pretty honest people. Because I have the ability to connect to people. Right. I should have been it'd have been nice. I could have been like a psychologist or something. It'd been nice to be something like that. That's how they get in. So I'm an open channel, so I can connect to people, but then the devils get in, right? And I destroy them. So these things are defensible. The immigration, it's not working. We got immigrants committing suicide. We got immigrants in bondage and in slavery. Well, it's just too large to manage. Never should have got that big. And a lot of the fear comes from peer fear. I explained that before, like even transition, and that's been explained before by others. Like, why does a 14-year-old need female hormones? A 14-year-old boy, and quite frankly, she looked like a girl before the hormones. I mean, that's the holy grail of her life. If I get those female hormones, everything will be okay. And a lot of times when you look at, they look at, between 14 and maybe 18, they look to be healthy. But a lot of them, by the time they hit 18, they double or triple in weight, which female hormones can do. So see, it's just a strange. So what happens is I sometimes look them up to see what happens. Because when you look at them when they're the poster child, they look, you know, look great, quite frankly. They look vivacious, they look, good, great skin color, beautiful hair, healthy, healthy weight. Then you get there about 18 years old and they're 2 to 3 times heavier. And you can tell that they're not as healthy. And it's not everyone, but I've seen that in a lot of the poster children. So I like going back later in life and looking at what's going on in the poster child's life. Well, I don't credit the Republicans and the church people with helping people out of being gay. I believe they're part of the impetus to put people into it because they have this idea of, I'm better than you, holier than thou. So the more gay people that exist, the more forceful the gay people are, the better they feel about their position. Again, that's why, see, Christianity wasn't built to be what you've all made it, because it introduces a lot of other behaviors, which you can call secondary or tertiary gains. It's kind of psychology, but it fits metaphysics. Thanks, Larry. Now, there's no way these people were supposed to be in my life. Not at all. And I've said it for years. Yeah, so the sun's not out now. I have a winter doldrums day. Tomorrow's gonna be a little cooler. So we had a 2-day extension here of the nasty weather. But it looks like it's gonna be even nicer though. So Hashem's able to get us a good payback. It should be melted by like Saturday night or something. Again, I appreciate if you pay me. You really do owe me a lot of money. Thank you. I just need to get up out of here and get into some place. What the perfect life would be, and again, for all of you, again, this is not necessarily the best life for me, but best life for all involved, I think maybe, is that I can afford some permanent place to live, and then I can afford something to travel with. Something, like I don't know, like a camper or a trailer and a truck or something like that. Because I need to heal things. I need to get places. Again, eyes on healing is more powerful. That's what I used to do when I would travel to the yoga things. I heal ghettos and things like that. Urban polite communities. I listen to like spiritual music and heal it. I'd be in tears. I'm that guy in the scripture, so in tears, man. God showed me I was. I never used to talk about myself. God made sure I knew I was. Bringing in the sheaves. Oh, I mean, TD Jakes come to town and they all are now they're open, right? After I healed them all. So they all show up. So if you're Jewish and you wonder why I put the Christian stuff, just to let you know, that's a real activity of Hashem. Uh, Jesus is not Hashem, but he was indwelled with Hashem. There is a certain, again, Ben Elohim is, we call it many different things and we word it many different ways. Rabbi Yeshua ben David was Ben Elohim, and he carried certain process with him. Again, today there's again, I didn't study a lot of the different types of Judaism. You go to Beth Jacob and you just do basic stuff when you're a kid. Right? And if I stayed, I may have been able to do this probably a lot sooner in my life. So we know, Rabbi Sneerson and throughout history, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Akiva. So they were I've called them kings. They're probably Ben Elohim. Again, sometimes we call them upper lights. And again, I'm an upper light that says I don't know if you're not. I'm not here to tell you you're not. Well, there's a big study Hashem and I did. It doesn't matter what you are outside of this place, you will be affected by this place. Jesus was affected by it. Right. He sinned. He committed abominations, but he was affected by this place. He wasn't the person that wanted to yell at the temple and about its sins. He would be more controlled about it had he not been cursed and affected by demonic possession of the mind. So that's a funny thing about Jesus, but it helps us understand something a little bit, because they say he's sinless, but you watch him sin. So how is he sinless? Well, because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, which is in that New Testament, which means we're wrestling against spiritual things that have power over us. Well, again, like Hashem just brought something up in my head, and who was it? Was it Rebecca? It was a female from the scriptures, and she takes a vow, just to let you all know that it's some of it is role playing, but again, it's happening. They're living a life here, and the larger meaning of it, which Kabbalists realize that, is what it is. It's ever expanding, ever changing. And I look at Hashem, I go, why don't you just talk to us, Hashem? You keep doing it this way. It's kind of weird, because it's how Hashem speaks, to manipulating what we already know to mean something else, because we can't hear him, because you don't want us to hear him. There are people on this planet that have power that don't want us to hear Hashem. They don't want to hear Hashem, because it will change the truth of what they believe into something else, and they want to believe what they believe. So Uncle Elon is going crazy on the ship. It's that Star Trek episode. Yeah, we got Leonard Nimoy in here and do a little mind meld. Maybe I did. Maybe that's how I knew. Now, I actually can't penetrate him too much. It's just his self, and he may be closed down. I don't know. It's just I just got this vibe that he's just not well. Again, it happens to everybody today that's doing it. Like even me, just I'm nobody really, but I do yield a lot of voice and power. They attack us, but that's Nazi stuff's got to go. And like I said, Fuentes cracks me up, because there's a couple of times that nobody would tell the truth but Fuentes. I don't agree with Nazism, but I don't know if he does. It could just be a way to make money. I don't know. Now, online, you find a lot of people that are just a persona. They just luck into it. They luck into it. And they start, They take on a certain persona. The money starts coming in. Why would you change? You change it, you don't get any money. Well, he's one of the most easygoing Nazis you've ever met, right? I've never seen a Nazi so chill. But he's honest. And again, I don't know if he could stomach the reality of Nazism. But again, Elon might be there. There's a difference between playing Nazism and being somebody that could bring about certain actions. Again, I don't know if he's paying people to oppress Jews. Got enough money to do it. Could be me. I don't know. Could be somebody down the street. I don't know. Thank you, Mary. So he definitely needs an elation break because you can't call it a stress break. He has no stress. I mean, he could have self-imposed stress. I take it back. He might be hard on himself, and this is how he compensates. Correct. So again, he does need. I don't know. I mean, I got a therapist there for a couple of days, a few times there. Maybe he needs to get on telehealth and talk to a therapist. Now, again, okay, here's an example. When they talk about the Jews, the power Jews, it's just one of the power cliques in the world. There's power Chinese, there's power Vietnamese, there's power French, power Arabs. So again, it's just bullshit. Thank you, Larry. And there's a large chunk of the Jewish population that would never go near something like that. Well, because they're going to go to hell. Yeah, could they feel more powerful? Could they have more money? Possibly, but not. We're not going there. You go to hell. That's why they couldn't vote for Trump. They're not allowed to. Just because Jews vote for you doesn't mean that the other Jews can vote for you. Once you articulate something, they can't vote for you. It wasn't just liberal Jews that didn't vote for Trump. And again, for all I know, Elon ran a campaign so that Jews wouldn't vote for Trump. We don't know that. I mean, maybe that's where he wants to put it so he could manipulate Trump into Nazism. I mean, he did do the Marvin Gardens thing. I think it's what it's called. The Marvin Gardens? Where was it? Well, not Marvin. Marvin Gardens is something else. It's like Madison Square Garden. And was that Elon's idea? I don't know. Well, we got to get rid of the friction, get rid of the bullshit, and actually do the programs. I'm just like in a holding pattern because we haven't been sued yet. All right, that's really when it took a lot of work last time. Or are we sued? Is there any cases up yet? Well, I don't know if he's going to be able to use the because he's using the COVID-19 thing that we use, communicable diseases. Well, when you use it for COVID-19, it would, it kind of took on a certain form where at a certain point there'd be a vaccine. So they allow it, and then the vaccine comes, and I think we kept it a little bit longer, and then it went by the wayside. Well, again, the idea is, are you going to use that to? Again, it's the same thing that came up on Roe versus Wade. Well, I forget who was Gorsuch. It was the other guy, right? don't remember the name. Who's the other guy? I think it was. Yeah, I think it was Kavanaugh. Maybe Gorsuch, but I think it was Kavanaugh. Well, the idea is that you got to change the law if you want to change the law. So at a certain point, the justice might say, "Okay, that sounds great, but you need to make a law, that does this, not just invoking some executive order." Which means you're obviously trying to restrict immigration based upon the existence of a communicable disease. Just restrict immigration if that's what you want to do. Change the immigration law. Right. So it's going to some of what we're doing could hit the same roadblock that the progressives hit with Roe versus Wade. Thank you, Gary. Or actually, it might require a change of the Constitution. I don't know. Well, it's all taking it's strange. I don't know if you can see it. Government's so strange right now. It's just watching, each of the cliques doing their thing. Well, you're actually changing the paradigm of the Constitution, and I think the court might rebel because you have all these little niche things that were invented to play a game with it, and maybe you're frustrated because it was very difficult to change things. Well, again, the court will sometimes allow something for a season because there's an expected end date, and that end date is now over, and now it's starting up again. Again, the idea of no trans in the military, trans in the military, no trans in the military. Before it was just okay, we're going to ban it. Okay, and then all of a sudden, because president, like the court doesn't look at the office of the president of this is President Biden, this is President Trump. When we look at a what is it, a track record, an extended period of time, and they'll say, okay, the presidents, same office, have now about 3 times changed the policy on transgenders in the military within maybe 8 years. So now we have the service member who is now in the military, out of the military, in the military, out of the military. So the court could say your executive order is now women whimsy, even though it's a different president. The office of the president is now, women whimsy as far as trans in the military. So a lot of what you're trying to do could fall into that. So again, the Constitution works a certain way, the law works a certain way, and that's pretty much why Roe versus Wade went the direction that it did. Because they said, wait a minute, we can do better. If you want to do that, make it a law. So we have a lot of things that can be deemed women whimsy. And women whimsy came up in the first administration, but I don't remember which cases. And then they also included overly broad. I think trans thing also had overly broad. That's why I was saying Clarence. I was getting vibes from Clarence Thomas saying the information you have may not be sufficient to bring about the end that you're looking for. I mean, there's an X chromosome, there's a Y chromosome. Okay. But is that the be all of it? And again, I don't know the answer to that. It just seems so stupid that we can't negotiate something. But again, it's mostly danger. Theoretically, the idea is that if it says they're a man and they look like a woman, they could be beat up. Cop might give them a ticket just because it's like that. Right? So there's a lot to that. How do you fight that discrimination? Now, the courts may say, well, it requires a doctor to agree. And there might be, you might, again, to make it not overly broad and not make it whim and whimsy, whether somebody's a man or a woman, that there has to be certain indications within gender dysphoria before the person will be considered a woman. Like, not just having gender dysphoria to this degree or something like that. I don't know. Well, Clarence Thomas has seen the evidence of what's been submitted in all the trans cases. And he's looking at the evidence. This is what I believe happened. I mean, I just received a blip in the mind. And he's looking at what the conservatives are thinking of submitting. And he just feels like it's insufficient. Again, that came from somebody, maybe Roberts. I just felt Roberts. Like I said, the issues are deeper than where they are right now. The research of the issues. We haven't researched enough. And again, you have to prove, and you have to prove it. You can't just make it a theory that there is something psychologically manipulating the children. I've seen it online. We do see peer things. So again, the idea that gender dysphoria exists, if they are manipulated, gender dysphoria still exists. So at that point, if the child has been manipulated into gender dysphoria, they still have it. So again, there's a lot of issue on how and when to do all this. So the idea of limiting exposure to gender dysphoria things around children might be one of the factors to actually cure it before it's caused. But not to say that it doesn't exist, because again, it probably also exists naturally. Well, there's already been several cases, and again, I don't know if the Republicans have those. Again, it's not to hurt a transgender person; it's to understand what's happening. Because again, if we have five gender dysphoria people out of 100 without any type of manipulation, and then all of a sudden this manipulation starts, and we have 20 out of 100, that's an issue. Right? And I'm not saying that's the numbers, just to help understand what we're looking at. Well, and then there might be a case for some sort of criminal prosecution if they're manipulating children and causing a child to believe they're transgender and they're really not a transgender or don't believe it until they're manipulated. Give me a second. So the court is in a world where if a child has gender dysphoria, then they have it, even if it was caused by something that shouldn't have been. And that's not going to be every case. And again, metaphysically, yeah, it should have been healed before it happened. It's just a very difficult life to live. And again, some have actually a better life than me. I understand that. But Well, generally, the lawfulness of marriage between gay people, the scripture didn't carry the day, and it can't because they, actually, if you use other scripture, you'll find that it's probably not a. Again, this is the idea that Christianity and Judaism, there's limits of where you go in judgment of others. I understand what you're thinking you're reading, but you're not reading everything and all of it. It's kind of like this. When I was a kid, and this is now I know why this happens when I explain this to you, and I've used it before. When I was a kid, we had a substitute teacher. She handed us out a piece of paper and had a bunch of things written on it and said, read the instructions before, read the instructions all the way through before you even start. Right. All the way to the end, read all the instructions. Well, the last instruction says, don't do any of the above. But meanwhile, you're putting a hole in your paper. You're saying icky, icky, boo. Like nobody read it to the end, and we're kids, But when you get to the end of it, it says, "Don't do anything that was said." Now, Bible doesn't, in the Torah and all that, doesn't say that, but you can't get to certain points of the scripture because it offends other parts of the scripture. So you have to be careful on what you're effectuating. Again, in Paul, it was a learning curve because when you see Saul of Tarsus, Saul ben Yamin, Paul, when you see his progression chronologically, it's pretty funny because he's like, wait a minute, this didn't work. I got to try something else because everybody took off on a tangent. And that tangent wasn't where he was intending for them to go. But I mean, it sounded good. It looked good. Again, he talks about leaving your first love. Also, offending others. And then you can't save a life with a law. It comes by faith. That's the only way to heal abortion forever is by faith, but it could be science that heals it. You understand that? Again, to a certain degree, it's been changed. When you fight all of it, it loses the mainstream support. I mean, they may not like kids being ripped out of the womb, but when you're fighting the day after pill and all that, you just lose the support. I mean, you were lucky to get in. You did great. I mean, you manipulated you used the I wouldn't say the mind either. You used what was out there and you put it all together because you had to actually put a coalition together to get anywhere. You couldn't get anywhere with your core issues. Right. You could probably get 30 to 40%. And that's again something you should remember. You didn't win because of Nazis, although Nazis did vote for you. So you have to be careful as far as where you're going and what you present. Right. I think the biggest difficulty is going to be these first couple months before the courts get up to speed on everything. There might be a few temporary restraining orders put in. That's how it went last time. So you have to be prepared to. Again, the reason I did that yesterday, I saw surges, and what you're articulating and what I saw was that people aren't going to be released into the interior. So you're going to have to come up with a mass system, which includes a medical system, because again, I'm connected to officers and border patrol and all that. And what happens is their issues go up, and they say something at work, but they can't change anything. It goes up into the think tank. And the worst part is having to take people for medical care. It creates several issues, security issues, time management issues, personnel issues. Because if I'm correct, they have to put 2 officers on 1 detainee, and usually 2 officers is being used for something else. A lot more detainees, maybe even 30, 40, or 1 officer actually on 30 or 40. Right. So again, what we want is if we get into the surges, if we're required to house them for a period of time, we want medical treatment right there. Now, it's going back and forth as to whether they could provide emergency medical care at each location. Again, because I'm going to be talking to a regular Army doctor, and then they're, because they have responsibilities. But then again, what do we have in the National Guard that we can activate? Now that's going to be additional funding. I'm not sure if that's funded at this point. I'm not sure how the funding works on national emergency when it comes to National Guard, where that comes from. There might actually be a fund somewhere for it. Well, because if you activate National Guard, and again, you have to try to find volunteers. People might be, doing something like, you bring the people in, and they don't have a responsibility. They don't have a responsibility to work an emergency room. I mean, that may be their civilian job. I don't know, but they don't have a military emergency room responsibility. Now, what they essentially said is there are doctors that could be cut loose, and they could provide emergency care. But as far as providing it for the entire network, they're not sure. That's what I received thought-wise, which is probably accurate. So again, we look at reserve doctors. We look at other doctors. I understand what they're saying is they're not like crazy MAGA, but they support the effort, and they would support the effort. The doctors believe there are doctors that would support the effort. And again, some of them are, they care about immigrants, and they don't have a problem to take care of the immigrant, take care of the officer. So it isn't, like one political party over another. So essentially, you would design a compound that would include, the housing. Like, and we already built the housing camps before. I don't even know where they are. I haven't seen them in years in the news. I mean, they still use them. Right, you would include a mobile hospital on the compound, and again, you could have a couple camps serviced by, and that might be the idea, like the land that you got in Texas, where you build a bigger compound, a bigger camp, and then in the middle you have a field hospital. It just, especially if we ended up with a pandemic or something again, or even just the flu or swine flu. So it rests on the fact whether they get their temporary restraining orders. Again, it doesn't matter which way it goes initially, as long as the temporary restraining order is in there, we still have to do it. Like, you may prevail in 6 months to a year or something like that, or you might not. Again, what the trend I'm seeing, and the court might see it also and probably does, is that there's this attempt to circumvent everything. A lot of different like checks and balances, like they did say with Roe versus Wade. This isn't the way to handle this. The House and the Senate should have changed it if they wanted it changed. Democrats squandered a lot of opportunity over the years, decades, right? Well, because you're essentially saying there's a communicable disease. You did that before. You passed court muster, but now it went away, and now you're bringing it back. And again, that could happen with communicable diseases, but it begins over a certain period of time. It begins to look like you're trying to circumvent the due process that's out there. And again, Biden did some stuff too. I mean, I was sitting back on, isn't this crazy? And paying each other millions and billions of dollars and pardoning each other, and they embezzled and shit. So the question is whether preemptive pardons are actually legal. I understand, and I don't think, I honestly, for Trump's wellness, for Bondi's wellness, for cash wellness, for wellness of everybody involved, I think you need to drop a lot of what you were planning, and you may have, I don't know. Again, Bondi said one thing and Trump did another, and that's the way the presidency works. It's not supposed to work that way, but no, I don't even know why I'm connected to Pam Bondi. I know I work with her stuff online, right, and in the community speaking on it. I used to go to the gyms and speak out too. Right? Like when I put like this stuff like I'm doing now, I'd act like I'm on my phone talking to somebody. Or even sometimes I do it in the store while walking through the store, so people can hear me speaking on the issues. Well, what's that guy saying? Now you had insiders killing me. They should have been. They should have been put in prison, and then it would have worked. But again, 2 years is a long time in today's psychological environment. They'll hate you in 2 years and be asking for Biden back. We have to be careful. Again, it's healthy also not to keep going back and forth. And I don't know who's here. There's a senator here, and it might be a bunch of senators and could be senators of the past. For some reason, I was with Hines and I was with Arlen Specter. They might be around. Well, it's just a health. Again, what you're calling a rhino sometimes is simply bipartisan because you got to give to get sometimes. So you're in the office now and you need to get. They needed to get and you didn't give. Now you got in the office, but again, the same idea in 2 years. Like I'm saying, every time you try to bring up something about Trump and the case against Trump, the case comes up again. I mean, right now, Cannon's trying to quash it again. She's trying to keep those facts out of the mainstream. But if you attack, if you try to investigate and prosecute, even if you try to just investigate Jack Smith and he finds out about it, he's allowed to petition the court. Everybody knows you investigating because you investigated Trump. So what he does is he goes before the court and he shows how the case existed and he wasn't doing anything wrong. I think you could actually get in front of the court before you actually charge him because you're intruding. And his only defense is to present the case, or at least a mini case. Makes sense. Oh, I cussed out Biden plenty of times while he was president. I don't have to support any of his. You're all devils and you're all devils. Well, essentially, what they're doing is that they don't care if it goes to prosecution because they now have a machine that can destroy people. So they don't care. They just use the process and it never gets tested. It's about a bunch of corrupt people signing off on shit. And the judge doesn't know. When they apply for a search warrant or they apply for a wiretap to intrude, there's nobody refuting what's being said. They just keep doing that for 30 years and stalk people and screw up their life and laugh about it. And then some side boss finally pays them $1 million somewhere along the way. That's your government. The rest is an illusion. I'm serious. It's a piece of shit. It's scummy. It's piggish. That's the people in there. That's who they are. That's why you got drugs everywhere. It's not because of bail reform, I guarantee you that. You know what? If you gave the death penalty, you'd still have as much drugs. Why? You actually might have more drugs because they pay more money because they don't want to go to the death penalty. So they'll pay the cops off. And the cops will bring a few people in for you to execute, while another 20 just run around laughing all day, ordering hits on everyday citizens like myself. The cops effectuate him for money. That's why drugs are out there. They're on the take. It's not impossible at all to get rid of more drugs than we have here. The fact is, some people are covered where they're not arrested because they're part of the thing, and they pay into it. Like that 10 years ago. Last administration, same thing. So why they get rid of good cops, man? They're not here to solve the problem. They're here to make money off of it. In fact, you'll ruin it for all of them because you'll arrest drug dealers and it'll go away, and then the cash cow will be gone. So Dershowitz had an opinion on one of the cases, kind of like I did. And again, generally, what they do is they apply for a temporary restraining order or something like that, so they can stop it in its tracks. I mean, I'm not saying anything they haven't already done. It's everything we ran into the first time around. So you have to be prepared for all alternatives. I mean, it sounds good. I agree. There's been communicable diseases for what, like 30 years, 40 years. We never really use it, but I mean, they got tuberculosis and everything down in Mexico. They got bird flu now, a little bit. Like I said, the longer you use something, right, the less the court is apt to allow you to do it. And again, they could even find it overly broad at this point. Again, there's I don't know if Hashem's going to heal the planet or not. But let's say there's 40 years from now, and Uncle Elon, everybody goes, we don't need Uncle Elon. The planet's okay. Let Uncle Elon go to Mars. We'll stay here. So, again, there's a future for the planet past our lifetime. And what we do today could enable a process to build up their nations. Again, I know Trump knows it's very important for him to embrace Z and come up with some sort of peace plan, some sort of, at least not metaphysical, societal ceasefire. I'm in here with Z a little bit. But I'm in here with the other people more. I don't know who they are. Actually, I could tell you the one is, but you might attack him again. I'm not going to say anything. And you can't talk about Chinese people too much because they look them with one eye closed. American, talk about you. I can't give up my sources anymore. He's pretty tight-minded. Although he does agree that we maybe should come up with something that we can all benefit from. And maybe there's a better wealth, a better future for all of us. But we're not there. Again, the idea is that we're not there yet. They don't understand us, and we don't understand them. There's a sign. They sign on to that one. I don't understand what they're doing. What the hell are they doing? They're trying to attack us. They see it as you attacking them. Kim, Mr. Kim, our leader Kim, he sees it as you attacking him. So you see, you put yourself in their shoes. What are they actually seeing? And metaphysically, the CIA might be doing that to him. And he knows he can feel it. He may not even know it. He just knows he feels something coming from the CIA in the United States attacking him. No, we don't live forever on this planet in the physical body. And like I said, I told you when I woke up in like 2005, all these, or I think it was around 2005, it could be after that, could have been maybe a day before, I don't know. These beings came to visit me. They had passed on in like the 1800s. And they said everything that we were praying for, everything that we were like, medically and scientifically moving forward is happening today. Our prayers were answered in your lifetime. So you see, I have a lot of training from Hashem. So again, what we do today can provide a future for Central and South America that's viable without narcotics distribution, without poverty. But what we've been doing is not the answer. I think Trump should call Maduro. Say, look, we disagree about a lot of different things. Let's see what we can do. Just touch base. The idea, I never agree with the Democrats when I'd give a jab to Trump whenever I could, because people screwed me. Took my life down to a point that I couldn't even maintain health. But I don't agree with not embracing anybody. The only way to start fixing something is to talk, is to visit one another. Well, there's a metaphysic. When I connect to you and you connect to me, and the closer we are, we start sharing a shared emotion. I don't know if the CIA led Trump in the wrong direction, but he didn't treat Mr. Kim or Leader Kim that well. There's respect. If they would just watch, if you just watch what everybody does when Leader Kim shows up, you would understand. Maybe that's what's required. Maybe that has to be done. Maybe they're just intuitive. Well, you don't understand. Leader Kim theoretically owns North Korea. Okay? There's going to be no change in North Korea that Leader Kim doesn't approve of. If Leader Kim meets with you, you're a very lucky person. But it's a fact. It's the world we live in. He doesn't go around meeting everybody. Well, you should show that gratitude. Why does that exist? Well, it does. I don't have to understand why it exists. I just know it exists. In a different world, I'd be friends with his sister because somehow we connect. And again, maybe in a different world we were. Do I approve of everything he does? No, I'm horrified. He's talking about scared of women, you know? But it doesn't mean that I can't have some interaction. Because again, you've done it to me. You've done the psychological stuff, you've done the metaphysical stuff, you've isolated me. Maybe you use the same thing you did to isolate North Korea. Maybe you get off on it. Maybe that's why it's still here. So again, there's nothing wrong with talking to them and spending time with them and honoring them in the way that they should be honored. Mr. Putin knew how to honor Mr. Kim, our leader Kim. In fact, he was, I mean, I don't agree to the war, and it's sad that North Korean people have to die. And there's a lot of children in North Korea who'll never see their parent again, their father. But again, I mean, he was grateful and he sent them troops because he treated them with respect. True respect. Again, respect comes from inside. I mean, you may fool somebody for a moment. Whatever they were doing, they were trying to cut Leader Kim. That's what was going on. Now, I did, get online. I don't know if they saw my stuff, and I don't know what they blocked. And I said, please, Leader Kim, just accept what they're saying. Please just give it another few months or another meeting. But essentially, you tried to cuck him, and he felt it, and he got angry. You can try to manipulate his mind. Donald Trump was part of it. He may have just been following what the CIA psychologists told him that, or sociology, whatever they used, told him that needed to be done. Well, I would have loved for some sort of, and then there was again when my life powered up, there was a little bit more reconciliation and reintegration between North and South Korea. That does happen, and again, I'm not the only person. But when you curse me off, then that stuff fails. Again, that he probably was maybe why Trump made the wrong move at that moment. You'd already cussed me off. So my ex-wife wasn't the only Korean person that I know. And again, I know a lot of Korean people that I don't know because I'm an inside person. And I know Emperor Pak as a spiritual being. And of course, Emperor Pak is most likely an ascended master. So again, there's also a history. Again, I wish I could have influence over Christian communities so I could get them to do what I tell them to do when it needs to be done. There's a way to have been Christian in North Korea under Kim, his father, and not have upset the apple cart. Again, the same thing I say about China. There's a way to be Tibetan, Buddhist, and all this other stuff without upsetting the apple cart. Well, because you can't force a change. I believe that the Christians in, watch me mess up, Pyongyang, I guess it is, I think there was a big contingent of Christians. I think they were so excellent that they were cursed by devils on this planet, and that's how that all happened. When you think at what level of Christianity they were experiencing right before it went in the other direction. And again, having Leader Kim in there is not against Christianity until it is. But why does it exist? It may not have anything to do with Leader Kim and the Christians in Korea. You see, again, possession of mind. I tried to explain it to them. They're not, that's not part of their culture. Leader Kim didn't grow up understanding that. Now, in Korea, and maybe he does, I don't know. But again, I can only read what I read. But Korea is a culture that understands about witches. And again, I don't want him to kill somebody because he thinks that's the witch. Again, it could be CIA. And they make you think it's somebody in your community. See, again, that's the whole thing. Somebody may be angry at Leader Kim or his family, and then they put a spell and a curse on them, and then they see the enemy as all their own people when it's actually people from other countries. Maybe somebody gets rich from researching North Korea for some CIA project. Because if we didn't have the mess, then they wouldn't make money off it. Again, like I said, they got rid of the healers and they put in the stealers. They steal everything. No, when you're possessed, you can't see it because it confuses what you see. So again, the idea that he doesn't know what I see and I don't know what he sees. He doesn't understand half of what I say because it doesn't make any sense to him. What he does doesn't make sense to me. But it doesn't mean that we can't have a connection and that we can't have dialogue. We need those things. Because if we start today, and let's say it takes his daughter's around, let's say his daughter becomes the leader, and his daughter becomes leader, and we go through her lifetime, and then we maybe go to the next leader. And all of a sudden that leader sees things a little bit different. You see. So again, this idea of believing there needs to be change today stops change from happening tomorrow. Well, because if an offspring of Leader Kim, maybe 2 generations, sees something different, then there'll be something different. But until they can see it, till they can understand it, they can't get there. And the reason they may not see it may be a spell from even the CIA itself, who says they should be something different. Well, I don't understand this moratorium against speaking to Leader Kim. I don't understand this moratorium against speaking to Russians. Why would you not speak to them? Other than you want to keep it going in the way that it's going. So if I was Leader Trump, I'd be making a lot of phone calls. And just laughing at everybody saying that he's a despot because he called Maduro. He's a despot because he called Putin. He's a despot because he called Leader Kim. Just keep the conversations clean. No, we could have ended that thing with Maduro years ago. Maduro's a businessman. Come on. And they probably know it. But I mean, it's just like so stupid the way you see it, and you may be scumbagging everything on purpose. The timing is totally out of time. He wins, he says, "I win an election, we won an election," and then you give him an ultimatum. He's like, the time is. If you did it before the election, you don't give him an ultimatum. You say, "Hey, look, let's get forward to this. We'll work it out so you have a great life, and your people have a great life, and we'll just move forward and we'll let 2 new candidates run." I mean, you could have maybe made a deal, but you can't do that after the election's over and he said I won. Right. You're too busy killing my life to actually do it when you were supposed to. I'd have been down there pumping the hell out of oil. I think I said that almost the first year of the Biden administration. You squandered my life, all of you. You're all very sick. I even made money off the stuff I say. What was the big thing? Nothing to it but to do it. That's the reality of all of it. Nothing to it but to do it. I'd have been the best friends with Maduro. I mean, by the time we got to this election, he may have just stepped aside. Well, I feel pretty comfortable. I'm a big oil baron now. My friends in the U.S. come down here all the time to talk to me. See? And that's how CIA used to do it. Right. They're trying to get me to put, since I said I want to be in a contest, they keep trying to make me enter contests. Because again, there's the physical part of it and the metaphysical part of it. Like, I can't spend a lot of money on contests. I don't got money. They try to, make me broke off of spending money on contests. I'm hoping I win the one I put in for. Lucky 7. On spirits that you could hand you a huge check and be able to walk off into your life. Like, that's some bizarre people. I went to yoga teacher training. They showed up there. Some of the yoga teachers came up as CIA, corrupt CIA, using psychological methods. I told you, use it and lose it. No reason that you're using CIA on me. Then there would be some people that were in the class itself say outlandish things to me. If the Sikhs were a sex cult, then the CIA is probably a sex cult. I mean, spycraft anymore, it's just a contract. One contract after another. No, I was more mad yesterday than I was today, or even this morning. Once I saw Elon shoot Ellis in the foot, I said, he's gone. Went crazy on the ship. I did lose it yesterday. Well, he needs an elation break. He doesn't have no stress. I mean, come on. That's why I look at him like, oh, yeah, you're wonderful. You're amazing. Maybe you'll get stressed one day. That's how they try to kill me with stress. There's no way to avoid it. I mean, they're applying it every day and wherever they can. Quite frankly, I have no idea I didn't have a heart attack or a stroke. I'm really. That's what they tried to do. There's no doubt that was one of their assassination attempts. Yeah, they learned the forbidden fruit and they used it corruptly and cruelly for evil purpose. Yeah, he's all elated out. I mean, he's got too much elation. But yeah, it's a spy trick. And it could be narcotics that do that. Again, may not even be some. Even if he is taking something, it doesn't mean that they didn't drug him. They could still be drugging him on top of it. Maybe he's on Bob. Whatever it is that did it. Reduces inhibitions. That's what killed Bob. Lost his security sense. But again, obviously, the system should have. Again, if I was around Bob, but I was in CIA or just a friend, I'd tell him, "You're not going, Bob. Wake up, wake up." I'd slap him. Pop, pop, pop. Wake up, Bob. You're not going. No, I mean, again, I've never been in the CIA, but there's a science to that. No, yeah, Bob, they'll never notice. Never notice that it's you. Maybe wear a fake mustache. Oh, yeah, I mean, don't wear a mustache. His wife didn't know not to say not to go. I have no idea why people in that community didn't tell Bob not to go. Maybe because they're really not, they're the deep state and they have no clue anyway. There was nothing to gain by Bob going. I agree. That's how you handle that. Eating trail mix. I don't believe there was anything to gain by Bob going to Iran or even Turkey. He was too famous. He'd been on like the Discovery Channel and stuff like that, and wasn't he? I mean, and he's going to do like a super secret CIA job. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Right now, they did stuff to my mind to get me in places where I normally wouldn't go. I knew they used it on Bob. At first, I was wondering what the hell was going on. Right? They were saying he was in Iran trying to help a cigarette smuggler. I'm like, Bob can't do that. That's the other side of the world. It'll destroy him. Which he turned out that he wasn't doing that. No, a cop can't engage in that because I guess nowadays because it's wired to make you rich, but in the day, but he wasn't doing that. No, if you're an investigator, you can't. If you're an Agent 11, you can't work for cigarette smugglers. I mean, something else could power you, like Satan, but you lose your protection. Right. But again, Satan could pick up the protection. I mean, if they protect you. Well, it doesn't mean that it was. It could have been U.S. deep state that caused them to go over there. If they wanted to get rid of you. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that it was like Russians or Iran itself. They may have just been part of it to play out what the CIA officer wanted to play out to get Bob away from them because he was paranoid. Because Bob's a criminal investigator. Well, I didn't know that, back when, but they didn't like criminal investigators, which is maybe why they targeted me. Well, if you show an ability to investigate something, it makes them paranoid. But okay, if you can investigate something that's hidden by the CIA, then that makes them paranoid. Like when they kill you, you're really not supposed to be able to see that they're killing you. And no, I didn't penetrate all of it, but they could see that I could see something. They killed us. I told you early on. I said they're killing the seer because the seer can see things that they don't want the seer to see. But I mean, a seer is innocent. A seer just wasn't really doing anything, trying to live a life, trying to get clear of whatever they were doing to him. And what they did is they had these people that you may not even see that they were talking to because some of them were probably CIA. So they're distracting you. What they're doing is they're making it so nobody's your friend in the physical world, and all you have is this, virtual world. And every so often, one of their people come in and touch into your life, and then do something crazy. I mean, they're really, really touched in the head. They shouldn't have existed. I mean, in my mind, yeah, 5 years, 10 years at the most. Any more than that, you should be gone. You should be destroyed. And that's like giving them benefit of the doubt. Because I don't think they should be allowed to do it more than a few months. Well, they're adulterating the victim and trying to make the victim who they say the victim is. It's not a test. No, I think Elon's under attack. But he needs to control that type of thing. Like I don't care that he does stupid stuff like shooting Larry Ellison in the foot. I mean, no, he shouldn't do that because that could ruin everything we're working for. But when he does the Nazi thing, that has major implications. Maybe he said, "I'm gonna do the Nazi better than anyone else," but he did. And he showed to me, as an investigator, it shows a psychological. There's something wrong with his head. In other words, with Laura Ingraham, you don't know what it was. You're like, well, is she or isn't she? When she left you with that idea. Right? When he did it, it's almost like Heinrich Himmler pissed off that we're not killing Jews. Right. Because he had an unbalanced look in his face. I mean, he's a billionaire. I don't know what he's mad at. A big billionaire. It's like Scarface the Nazi. Did Scarface look like that in one of those scenes? Again, I don't hate him, and we need to adjust him at this point. He needs to be adjusted somehow. I don't know, writing him out of everything. You just have to sit down. You're gonna have to sit down and have a meeting with yourselves, like few people. Don't make it in a circle, right? But then sit down with Elon. And decide what. Again, you don't have to tell me we're not throwing you out of the club, but we just got to do something. Unless Trump may have been burned enough where he doesn't feel comfortable. But again, who's going to say what about him next? Again, Trump was taken through some psychological stuff, but he should never let his people kill me. Should have never let that happen. I'm trying to live a simple life.